Hello, comeback champions. I'm going to talk to you today about something you've been desiring to know about for a long time, whether you know it or not, and that is how to make big profits from a small business. And that's one of the things I think that all of us should desire to do, not just in business, but in life. How do we get a lot of output with the minimal input? Maximum output, minimal input. And making big profits from a small business is something that you can do. Our business does millions of dollars a year in revenue, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, sometimes seven figures in a month. And we do that with a very small team. We've got 5 employees in our company, 5 subcontractors, and a couple of companies that we outsource to, and that's it. And we generate a massive amount of revenue, and nothing compared to where we're headed. But you can do that too. I can remember when I first got started in business, I was like so many other people. I did so many creative avoidance activities because I thought having a business meant having business cards. I thought having a business meant having stationery. I thought having a business meant renting an office. I remember we used to spend all this money on office space and stationery and business cards and all this stuff that doesn't do anything to affect the bottom line. And there are a couple things that you can do that will change your life forever if you'll learn how to focus on making big profits from your small business. First thing that and it's so interesting, when I do consulting or coaching, I recommend that most of the people that I'm serving, that I'm coaching and consulting with, one of the first things I recommend that they all do is to raise their prices, because most people undercharge in the marketplace. And why do they undercharge the marketplace? They undercharge the marketplace because their competition undercharges in the marketplace. And now I am effectively one of the highest priced service providers in my space, and yet we sell out our events not week after week, month after month, because we don't do them every week, but month after month after month. Our events are always full. Our trainings are always full. We've always got plenty of coaching clients, and you can do the same thing regardless of whether you have a business, whether an agency where you do marketing for other businesses, whether you're an author, a speaker, a coach, a consultant, some other high-level entrepreneur. Do you have a video agency? There are so many different ways you can start a small business and make big profits from it. There are even ways that you can do that in network marketing. I know some of you are probably involved in network marketing. The traditional way of doing network marketing, I think, is pretty outdated, but there are some ways that you can even use these principles that I'm going to share with you to even build a network marketing business if that's what you desire to do. So the first thing I want to share with you about how to make big profits from small business is this. You have to operate at the higher levels. You've heard me teach the 4 levels of value, and if you haven't, you're going to hear it right now, right? In the marketplace, there are 4 levels of value. Income is always the result of value. Income does not exist in a vacuum. Revenue does not exist in a vacuum. If you want to make a lot of money, you're going to get that money in exchange for something, right? Because everything is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. And so you've got to figure out what value you're going to create for the marketplace that's going to change into the form of revenue for your business or income for your family. And so what you've got to do is you've got to operate at higher value. Now, what most people do when they want to make more money, they want to get more income, they want to get more revenue, what they do is they work harder at the lower levels. Working harder at the lower levels does not produce more revenue. Working harder at the lower levels does not produce more income. You can work harder at doing something that the marketplace doesn't value, and you still don't make any more money. What you have to learn how to do is you have to learn how to level up and start operating from higher levels of value. So what's the lowest level of value? The lowest level of value is called implementation. And implementation means you are the person who does the thing. And the resource you use down here on this level, this is the lowest level of value, the resource that you use down here, you use your muscles over time. So you usually get paid by the hour, and you're moving something, you're lifting something, you're driving something, you're cleaning something, you're painting something, you're hammering something. You are using your muscles over time. Your income is going to be limited if this is you. You are an implementer. You are the person who does the thing. And as long as you are the person who does the thing, the amount of money that you will make will be limited. Don't really have time to go into why that is, but it's just the way it is. If you go stay at a hotel, the housekeeping staff at the hotel are absolutely essential to renting hotel rooms. Absolutely essential, but guess what? They can't rent a hotel room to anybody unless the room is clean. But even though the housekeeping staff are the ones that keep the hotel rooms clean, and their job is absolutely essential, they still make less money than anybody else that works at the hotel, and more than likely, they're the hardest working personnel in the hotel. Can you imagine going in every day and looking forward to the same thing over and over? Cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the toilets, changing the sheets, and vacuuming the floor and wiping up all of other people's germs for like whatever they make? Can you imagine just doing that all day, every day? It's hard work. But guess what? The marketplace doesn't value implementation as much as it values the other levels. The next level is called unification. Unification means that you are no longer the person who does the thing, you are now the person who manages the people who do the thing, and the resource you use here is you use your management skills. So you're managing other people. You're going to make more money. If you're operating down here at the lowest level of value, you make somewhere between minimum wage and $80,000 a year. You make minimum wage if you're working at McDonald's or Taco Bell. You make $80,000 a year if you're a mechanic and you work on a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes, right? You might make up to $80,000 a year, but that's a ceiling. When it comes to your income, when it comes to your business revenue, you want floors but no ceilings. Does that make sense? So the next thing you want to do is you want to figure out, how can I level up? Well, you could become a manager and you could manage the people who do the thing. Well, guess what? On this level, using management skills, you might make, on the low end, you might make $40,000 a year, right? And on the high end, you might make what? $250,000 a year. If you're a middle manager for Lockheed Martin or Boeing or John Deere or one of those Fortune 100 companies, you might make $250,000 a year on the unification level. But what you really want to do is you want to learn to level up to the next level, which is, this is where the fortunes start to be made. Top two levels, this is the fortune threshold right there. What is this? Well, this is the communication level. And on the communication level, the resource you use your mouth to make money. This is where on the low end you might make $100,000 a year as a car salesman, or if you're an A-list actor, you might make $100 million a year. But you're using your mouth. You're creating a message that moves the masses, right? It's interesting that movies are called movies, isn't it? They're called movies because they move people. So you're using your mouth to move the masses. And so communication, that's an A-list singer, A-list actor, it could be a car salesman, it could be somebody who sells insurance, it could be somebody who's an author, somebody who's a speaker, somebody who's a consultant or a coach. You use your mouth to make money, and because you use your mouth to make money, you're going to make somewhere between $100,000 a year and $100 million a year. On the low end, it's $100 grand. On the high end, it could be $100 million. And anywhere in that, based on where you are right now, I mean, seriously, wouldn't you be okay leveling up to the next level? Well, the highest level of value is called imagination. This is where you use your mind to make money. And the reality is, this is the highest level of value because people who come up with the best ideas, you're going to make on the low end $1 million. And on the high end, you might make billions because you come up with ideas. And you come up with those ideas and you find people to communicate those ideas, or better yet, you're an Imagineer and a communicator, and you're really good at coming up with ideas and conveying those ideas to other people. When you master these two top levels, you can make big profits from your small business. So that's the first thing you've got to do. You've got to level up and operate in the top two levels of value. Stop starting service-based businesses. Start a business. Start focusing on your business selling products. And then when you're selling those products in your business, raise your prices so you can sell those products for high profit. I like the word profit. I love what Jim Rohn used to say, profits are better than wages. If you make wages, you can make a living. If you earn wages, you can make a living. But if you earn profits, you can design a life. So that's the first thing you got to do. You've got to operate at the highest levels of value. The next thing you have to do is you have to make sure you are in the right business market. You say, Myron, what is the right business market? Well, the right business market is, before I tell you what the right business market is, I'm going to tell you there are three different kinds of markets, right? So you got three different markets. You got CMs, you got MMs, and you got PVMs. Okay, so those are the three types of markets. So CM stands for commodity markets. What's a commodity market? It's where you sell something that it's a commodity. It just does the thing it does. Got this pack of screws right here, right? So screws, right? And So let's say you have a hardware store, I have a hardware store, this pack of screws, I sell mine for $5. You say, well, I'm going to show you, I'll sell mine for $4.99 or $4.95. I'll show you, I'll sell mine for $4.90. And then you say, I'll show you, I'll sell mine for $4.85. And then we keep on lowering our price until one of us goes out of business. And we get in this race to the bottom because a screw is a screw is a screw, a nail is a nail is a nail, a battery is a battery is a battery. And eventually, if we're in the commodity market, we're going to price ourselves out of business and nobody wins. So commodity markets are not the best market to be a part of. When you are in a commodity market, the things that I don't like about it for a business is, number one, your competition sets your price. Why would I want to be in a business where somebody else sets my price? That doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm going to be in business, doesn't it make sense for me to set my own prices? That's why you're better off being in a business where you have no competition. And the only way you can be in a business where you have no competition is to come up with a better idea than everybody else who thinks they're in the same business as you, and then communicate that idea better. More on that in a minute. So the competition sets the price. Another thing that I don't like about it is a race to the bottom. Nobody wins that race, right? It's a race to the bottom. Another thing I don't like about this, no conversation, zero conversation happens with your customers until the point of sale. That's maybe the worst thing about it. You don't have any conversation with your customer until they get ready to buy. They come and say, hey, how much are these screws? And you say they're $4. You say, okay, here's your $4. Like, this is a terrible market to be in. It's not fun. The margins are very low. I mean, you'd be doing good in a commodity market if you can make 15% on your cost of goods. That made my soul hurt just saying that, right? So the next one is main markets. What are main markets? These are things like houses, cars, things that you have to have, but I don't like this business because the price is set by the cost of goods. The cost of goods establishes the price. Again, why would I want to be in a business where someone or something other than me sets the price? I want to be the one who sets the price for what I sell. For instance, I'll give you a specific. So, if I were to go into the main market and I were to publish a book, which I did publish a book, but I published it myself. I didn't go to Random House. I didn't go to Simon & Schuster. I didn't go to one of the big publishing houses and ask them to publish my book because this book is 150 pages, 150-page book. It's a 150-page book, and it sells for $20. Now, if I would have gone to a publishing house, they said 120-page book, you can sell that for anywhere from $12.99 to maybe $14.95, right? Well, that's because they're basing it on the cost of goods. I'm basing my price on something else, which I'll share with you in a minute. So cost of goods sets the price. Another thing I don't like about it is the margins are so small. You might make 15 to 30% margins. If you're 30% margins on a car, on a house, oh my goodness, if somebody could build a house and make a 30% margin selling the house they just built, like 15% is good. 30% is, oh my goodness, this is great. Like, can you imagine building $1 million house and selling it and only making $300,000? Oh, that's so painful, right? Hey, this book right here cost me 75 cents to make, and it sells for $20. That's like a 2,000% margin on this book. 2,000%. I could literally give them away and still make money on them. So 15 to 30% margin, which I don't like that. The other thing I don't like is the conversation about your product happens away from you. This is terrible. What do I mean by that? Well, when you sell a house or you sell a car, what people do when they're getting ready to buy a house or a car, they're getting ready to buy a house, they go on Zillow. They look up all the houses in your neighborhood, they compare prices, and then they come into you own the house, and they come and say, will you sell me your house? And this is all I'm willing to pay for it. Whoa, well, baby, wait a minute, slow down. You're going to tell me how much I'm going to sell my house for? This is my house. Well, that's how it works because they already had the conversation about price before they knew anything about value with Zillow. If you're going to sell a car, they go to Kelley Blue Book or Carfax.com. They look up the value of the car on some other service that happens away from you. And when they do that, they come back and tell you how much they're willing to pay you for your car. I hate these markets. You can't make big profits from a small business if you're operating over here. The only place I know of that you can make big profits from a small business is if you operate in PVMs. What's PVM stand for? Premium value markets. What's a premium value market? Premium value market is a market where the result sets the price. For instance, we have a lady who just bought my $55,000 coaching program yesterday. $55,000, right? She bought it 2 days ago. So she bought this 2 days ago. Why? Because she fully expects to be able to 10x her results over the next 12 months from that $55,000 program. Well, she's so good, she might be able to 100x her result, right? So I've had people who bought that program and gone out literally and done $1 million, for $55,000, have gone out and bought and done $1 million in sales, like in a day. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is what it is. $100,000, $200,000, $400,000, $1.8 million, $1.9 million, $5 million. Like literally, these are the kinds of results that my clients are getting. So if I said to you, hey, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll sell you this $50 bill for $5. Who would take it? Well, if your hand's not raised right now, and you say, well, I wouldn't buy a $50 bill for $5, then you are either confused in math or confused in logic, because that is a great deal for you. If somebody can give you 10 times the value for the price you're paying, well then, obviously, you'll take that deal. Nobody ever buys anything because they feel like it's worth the money. People only buy something because they believe it's worth more than the money. The thing they're buying is worth more than the money to them. That's why people buy. So, your result sets the price. Well, I've got students who are producing all kinds of crazy, amazing results, and those results are setting the price. Next thing that happens is the conversation, the margins. The margins are, at worst case scenario, margins, 10 times markup. 10 times markup. Worst case scenario. You create a home study course, you mark it up at least 10 times. That's 1,000% markup. You write a book, 2,000% profit on a book. What? So I love the margins. The margins on premium value markets are the best margins in the world. Why? Because they want the result so badly that the price becomes nebulous. Well, what's the next thing? The number one reason that I think premium value markets are the best and they work so well is because the conversation about the value, which, by the way, is the result, happens long before you ask them to buy. That is what makes premium value markets work. You have a long conversation with your customer. You give them value upon value upon value upon value upon value, and then you say, hey, by the way, if you want some more value, I'll sell it to you. That is how you operate in premium value markets. I've got, for instance, my Instagram page, at Myron Golden, right? I post, I could literally, in fact, I'm probably going to do this. I could literally take all of my Instagram posts with the image and the Instagram, the content under the post. I could literally take my Instagram post and turn it into a book. And people would buy it. Why? Because when I do an Instagram post, it's not just, hey guys, I'm here at the beach. No, when I do an Instagram post, it's an image, it's a quote, and then it's a couple of paragraphs. Why? Because I want to give so much value in the marketplace that when I ask for something, people feel like, man, he's giving me so much for free already. I got to have this next thing. I've got a Bible study group on Facebook called Bible Success Secrets. What do I do in there? Well, I go there. I show up in there every Wednesday. When I'm in town, I show up in there every Wednesday. And what do? I teach people some mind-blowing success principles from the Bible, and they join that, and then they begin to seek me out. I get interviewed on podcasts. I have my own podcast. And so what I'm doing is I'm making myself findable by creating value in the marketplace. And so I'm having long-tail conversations with people long before I ever ask them to buy anything. In fact, a lot of times I'll have a long-tail conversation with somebody and they'll come ask me if they can buy something. See how powerful that is? So you got to have the right market. The next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the right business model. And so you want to have the right business model. And what is the right business model? I would go into a big dissertation about all the different business models, about the entrepreneur business model. I'll tell you what they are. I'm not going to write them all up here. I'm only going to spend time writing on the one that is most important. So there's the entrepreneur business model. What's that? LP times LV. That's LV times LP. That's a entrepreneur business model. LP stands for low profits. LV stands for low volume. So you get low profit times low volume. That's a entrepreneur business model. That is a person who wants to be an entrepreneur, but they don't know how to be one. So they go around selling low price products, low profit products, and they only sell a handful of them every now and then. And so they want to be an entrepreneur, but they're really a entrepreneur. Stay away from the entrepreneur business model. Okay. Then you have an actual entrepreneur business model. And that is high profit, low volume. High profit, low volume. Okay, so you have something that sells. Maybe you have a $997 webinar product, and maybe you do your webinar every now and then, and maybe you do your webinar 3 times a month, and you make 3 sales every time you do a webinar, and so you make $9,000 a month. You're a real entrepreneur. You're making money, and you're making $9,000 a month. But guess what? You're not going to get wealthy on $9,000 a month, and maybe where you are right now, $9,000 feels like wealth, but you will find out in short order that it's really not that wealthy. So you say, okay, so the entrepreneur is okay. The entrepreneur is like, stay away from it. Then you have a business model called the Waltrepreneur. What's the Waltrepreneur business model? The Waltrepreneur business model is the Sam Walton business model. What's that? That's LV times LP. That's HV times LP. HV is high volume times a low profit equals Waltrepreneur. This is what people who are e-commerce sellers on Amazon and on Shopify and all these other sites, Etsy, they sell a lot of a low profit product, but they sell so many of them, they make up in volume what they lack in profit, and so they get rich. Sam Walton on what I call the Waltrepreneur business model, right? Because Sam Walton, Waltrepreneur. So Sam Walton, the Waltrepreneur business model, Sam Walton became the richest man in the world. He was 3 times richer than Bill Gates before he died. He was so rich when he died that when he died and he split up his wealth between his heirs, his wife and his children became the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th wealthiest people in the world. That's how rich Sam Walton was. Bill Gates moved into number 1. Sam Walton's family moved into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's crazy town, right? So why? Because he had a good business model that he understood. And Sam Walton said, I never want to make more than 30% of my customers. But he had customers all over the world. He would go into rural areas and he would put up these discount stores and he would bring these people these great deals and he'd shop around for the best value and then for the lowest price, and then he'd bring that low price into a rural area, and then he built the Walmart chain, which is was for a long time the largest retailer in the world until Amazon came along, right? So that's the Waltrepreneur business model. And then you have my favorite business model, which is the Wealthtrepreneur business model, and that is this. High profits times high volume. Let's say you've got a program. Let's say you've got a program that makes you $20,000 profit. Let's just say. And let's say with that $20,000 profit, let's say you sell 1 a week. So you sell 52. Well, take 2 weeks off. You sell 50 a year. Guess what that is? That's right. That is $1 million per year because you have the right business model. This is the Wealthtrepreneur business model. The road to wealth is paved with high profits and high volume. High profits times high volume equals Wealthtrepreneur. If you have a $20,000 profit program and you sell 50 of them a year, 1 a week, you sell 1 of those a week, it's going to give you $1 million a year. Well, if you sell 2 a week, it's going to give you $2 million a year. You sell 4 a week, it's going to give you $4 million a year. See how powerful this is? This is the concept that can take your life to the next level. But there's one caveat, and that's this. You have to have the right message to market match. You got to learn how to say what your deal is, what your value is, what the result is. You got to learn how to say it so well that when people hear you say it, they say, I have to have it. What is your value proposition in the marketplace? See, most people who got a bad message, they think their prices are too high, but the reality is it's not that their prices are too high, it's just that their value is too unclear. And so what they do is they keep lowering their price, and then they finally start making some sales, but they can't provide good enough support for the amount of money they sold it for, so they end up pricing themselves out of business, all because they didn't have the right message to market match. What you've got to get good at is you've got to get good at using your mouth. We're going back now to what? We're going back to the highest levels of value, coming up with a great idea, but what? You got to be able to say it well. It's not enough to conceive it, you got to be able to say it well. I love the fact Steve Jobs is like the ultimate example of this. Why? Because Steve Wozniak invented the Apple computer, but I go around the world and I ask people, I'm going to name a company. You tell me who's the first person who comes to your mind. I say Apple Corporation. Everybody says Steve Jobs. He's been dead, I think, for 11 years. That's kind of mind-blowing. He's been dead for at least 8 years, but people still say Steve Jobs. Nobody says Tim Cook. Nobody says Steve Wozniak. People say Steve Jobs. Why? Because he was the guy who imagined what Apple could be. But not only that, he knew how to say it. Do you remember what he said in 2007 when they came up with the iPhone? He said, it's a browser, it's a browser, it's a music player, it's a telephone, it's a phone, it's a browser, it's a music player, it's a phone, it's a browser, it's a music player, it's a phone, it's a browser, it's a music player. And he said that over and over again. He had a message that matched his market, and it was a simple message. It's a phone, it's a browser, it's a music player. Do you remember what he said when he showed that it had no buttons? He said, yeah, we got rid of the lower third. The guy was brilliant at crafting messages that moved the marketplace. Maybe the biggest problem you have is you haven't put enough effort into making sure your message matches your market in a way that causes them to move. Like people ask me, so Myron, what do you do? Well, I teach people how to sell high ticket from the stage. For instance, teach people how to sell high ticket. I teach people how to sell high price products because you have to convey the message of a $30,000 offer differently than you do a $3,000 offer. A $30,000 offer is not harder to sell. You just have to use different messaging. In fact, a $30,000 offer is easier to sell than a $3,000 offer. And it's way easier to sell than a $300 offer, and you get a better clientele. But that only happens when you craft your messaging properly. And see, I know what my clients want. You don't know what your clients want. I know what my clients want. See, people who are broke, they sell price, right? Because they think everybody cares about price because they care about price, right? But the reality is, people who are wealthy, they don't want more price. They don't want a lower price. They want more time. They want more time. More time. They want greater value. They want less hassle. I think I spelled that right. No, I didn't spell that right. Less hassle. I think I spelled it right. They want less hassle. This is what people who have money want. So when I'm talking to people about a high price program, the price becomes nebulous. In fact, I was talking to this lady who just bought this program. She said, you know, you just said $55,000 like it was $55, didn't you? I said, well, what's the difference between $55,000 and $55? A couple zeros, right? Right? And so I de-emphasize the price, and I emphasize that they're going to get a fast result. I emphasize the fact that they're going to get great value. I emphasize the fact that it's not going to be hassle. And when you do that, then you can make big profits from your small business. You don't have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. You just have to figure out how to be profitable fast, early, and over a long period of time. And when you do that, you can make big profits from your small business. I hope this helps.